back, Flare community. I hope you're all well and having an incredible day as always. And yes, in today's video, we're going to be listening in to a panel where Hugo is talking all about breaking silos in blockchain. Some of you may also know that it is Apex Week, and this is where this panel discussion took place. And yesterday, Hugo was talking about XRP staking powered by the Flare network and trusted execution environments, in addition to an absolutely huge announcement bringing $100 million worth of XRP into the Flare ecosystem. I'm going to link that into the top right here. And we're going to jump straight into this and listen to the panel, but let's have a quick look at what this actually is. Hugo's speech yesterday was just by himself, but this is indeed a panel. The title of this is Breaking Silos, Building the Future of Cross-Chain Interoperability. And of course, that is something that is highly focused on by the Flare team. As we look down here, you can see there are many people in this discussion. And the agenda is this. As more ecosystems and applications go multi-chain, secure cross-chain interoperability is becoming critical to delivering real-world utility on a global scale. This panel brings together leaders from XLR, Flare, and Wormhole Foundation to explore how interoperability is evolving, the key technical and security challenges, and what it means for developers, validators, enterprises, and users. This session is moderated by UCL's Java Hugh. The conversation will spotlight how APAC, or the Asia Pacific region, is emerging as a leader in driving interoperable, reliable, and purpose-built cross-chain solutions, and what is next for global adoption. Let's jump in.
Very well put. Standard is very important. So another question to all of you, to the entire panel. From a security or custody point of view, cross-chain exploits have cost billions in lost funds. What lessons has the industry learned, and what best practices are emerging to secure cross-chain connections, specifically for developers building multi-chain apps and institutions that require resilience, audits, and counterparty trust? Should we go first with the...
I can take this one first, for sure. Wormhole's definitely gone through its unfortunate incidents in the past, and obviously we've come a long way from that. We work with the likes of BlackRock, Apollo, VanEck, a lot of the bigger institutions now. I think one of the key learnings that we had was we didn't want to build, or we didn't want to focus our energy building standards. We wanted to build frameworks. Now, frameworks are a lot more open. The developer experience is a lot more accessible, and the developers can choose what they want, what they don't want. An interesting example of that is in one of our integrations with XLR, we helped Lido go multi-chain, and they used Wormhole technology, but they used XLR's verifier network. So enabling people to choose what they want, what they don't want, and giving them those choices is something that I think is coming out as a best practice in the industry.
So diversify kind of the choices and avoiding kind of single point of failure, so to say.
Yeah, so I think I guess I'll echo that, but I think you have two major components. The first is the design of the system and whether it is highly decentralized or not. Obviously, there's different flavors as to how people do that. At Flare, we have always been trying to build the most decentralized system possible, and you run up against limitations, right? Like how do you XRP Ledger has a 32 slot multi-sig. So how do you represent a validator set of 100? Bitcoin has an even smaller multi-sig size. How do you represent a set of 100? So that's your first, design choices with regards to the bridge, and then you have code issues. And once you built the design, you then have to code it and those kind of things. And we chose to launch a Canary Net. A fully monetized Canary Net. We think that's been, for us, a very good step. We've learned a lot about the protocols, and we've found a lot of bugs. So it's very hard to be invulnerable, but you have to just make pretty much every possible step you can to be as minimally vulnerable as possible.
Constantly evolving and improving. And Sean?
Yeah, I'll just add on to the pointers that was mentioned earlier. But I think at XLR, the idea is to decentralize the full stack. And what does it mean in actual action, right? So if you look at the governance of every smart contract upgrades that we have, it needs to pass through our 75 validators. And it's fully permissionless and open validator set that anyone can participate with a right level of XLR holdings on that. On top of that, I think we have built in a certain level of defenses within the protocol itself. We have rate limits, we have security audits and bug bounties, kind of add on to the different level of defense on the protocol side.
Thank you very much. And back to you, Hugo. So we know that Flare's mission to bring secure, decentralized data to smart contracts is opening up new possibilities for interoperability. With recent integrations, including with the XRP Ledger, you're enabling broader participation across ecosystems. How does this fit into Flare's bigger vision, and where do you see the most impactful use cases emerging?
Absolutely. So our bigger vision is that almost all use cases in the future involve data from external systems. That's our fundamental vision, whether that's price data, data from Web 2, or data from other blockchains, which are proliferating at a fast rate. Combining that with compute, as in the ability to do many calculations very quickly, obviously not on the blockchain because the blockchain doesn't give you the availability to do that. That leads to very interesting product mix. In terms of what we're doing with XRP, it's one of the sort of initial proofs of the use cases of our data capabilities, which is, we've built a blockchain that is fundamentally a database blockchain, and being able to get interactions with XRP and other non-smart contract assets is just like a really low-hanging fruit and provides a lot of dividends and bounties to XRP and those other non-smart contract assets. And as a result, we've found traction there. Yesterday, we announced that we've been building with an external partner a staking product for XRP, and we announced that the first XRP treasury company, Vivo Power, will be committing 100 million to staking XRP through Flare's
Congratulations.
Protocols. Thank you.
Great, then the next question to Ratchet. So Wormhole is one of the most widely integrated interoperability protocols, connecting a wide range of layer ones and app chains. From your lens, where is the demand for cross-chain infrastructure strongest? And what are you seeing in terms of institutional or enterprise interest in this space?
For sure. I think all of us would agree that DeFi is still the strongest use case for interoperability. For context, Wormhole has done about 60 billion in volume in its lifespan, and we've started working with the institutions, but the multi-chain AUM for our institutions is about 4 billion, with BlackRock's BIDL fund being the highest. I would say a subsegment of DeFi is stablecoins, which also a key part of this conference as well, where you see a lot of the original DeFi players wanting to build stablecoins, but now you have institutions who want to build stablecoins as well. So yeah, just to answer your question, DeFi is probably definitely the strongest use case. You have stablecoins, which is emerging as a subsegment to that, and then on the institutional side, they want to build money markets, stable coins, all of those different things, but it's very small relative to the larger scale of DeFi. But we'll see how that progresses in the future, and it will probably tipple. We'll see a flippening, but when and how, I don't know. But yeah, the institutions are here.
Totally agree. I think this is very topical now that also we have RLUSD as well with the XRP Ledger. So yeah, a lot of things are happening with the stablecoin space. So if we move on to the next question to all of our panelists, given we're at Apex today, let's get very specific now at one chain for a moment, which is the XRP Ledger. As the XRP Ledger continues expanding its interoperability through mechanisms like hooks, sidechains, and integrations with networks like XLR and Flare, what type of design do you think would be most suitable for XRP Ledger, and how should developers, users, and other stakeholders be most prepared for the advancement of XRP Ledger in interoperability?
Sean, you want
John, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think we've been doing a lot of work with developers in the ecosystem. I think just to name a few, there is a money market protocol called Strobe. I think that the idea is to actually utilize different types of logic that's hosted on the EVM side chain and thereafter do issuance on the Ripple ledger. So we enable the message passing layer where we can actually cross-settle across the two different chains itself. So you can bring logic and kind of string different types of possibilities as builders on that front, right? So on top of that, I think XLR has a cross-chain token standard that can potentially enable any issuers from Ripple Ledger to actually issue onto other chains, or even existing developers from other ecosystems to actually onboard on the Ripple Ledger very seamlessly without compromising on security and liveliness on that front.
Yeah.
So, we're building out something we call protocol managed wallets, which uses a TEE infrastructure to allow a smart contract on Flare to essentially control tokens on other chains. You can think of that as, in the first instance, as a bridge, but ultimately it doesn't just have to be a bridge. You can take data inputs from Flare's data oracles, whether that be price or state from another chain, and then you can effectively apply a state transition, which then gets represented as a transaction on another chain, whether that's XRP or Bitcoin or Ethereum. So ultimately, what we're trying to do at Flare is abstract away essentially the complexity of all these different chain standards into one essentially EVM layer, which is quite understandable to the majority of people in the industry.
Yeah, and I can talk about it from a user perspective. I think we're more still evaluating how we would integrate XRPL or XRPL EVM. I think as a user, I saw Hugo's presentation yesterday on staking. That was really interesting. I think this conference, I've seen a lot of panels around staking in general, and the concept that you can stake your XRP and get yield is phenomenal. I think that's like a really big upgrade from a user's perspective. I saw a lot of talk about the RLUSD stuff. I think XRP staking plus RLUSD, there are like many different DeFi use cases that I think will emerge. Like you could probably, stake XRP, loan it, borrow against it, use RLUSD to loop it again. I think we'll see a lot of DeFi use cases come out of XRPL as well. And I think the team's already on board doing a lot of this stuff as well. So yeah, from a user perspective, like it's interesting to see how DeFi will evolve on XRPL.
Definitely, and interoperability solutions will play a critical role here because you want to use kind of liquidity from also other chains from the entire blockchain ecosystem. Totally agree. So I want to, we talk a little bit about design there, but I want to go even a little bit more specific and to understand a little bit of technicality of the interoperability design from your point of view. So we know that there are different design choices for cross-chain bridges in terms of the way a crypto asset is transferred. We're talking about asset transferring. There's burn and mint or lock and mint mechanisms, and there's liquidity network mechanism where a transfer request is passed to liquidity providers, LLPs in our DeFi jargons, who maintain reserves on both chains. Right, you might be running a AMM protocols or something like that, decentralized exchanges on the bridge, and then so that's on asset transfer point of view, and in terms of the level of trust of bridges, they can be controlled by smart contracts or group of validators. So my question is, how do you see the evolution of the design in interoperability solutions, and how could we strike a balance when there are trade-offs between those choices?
Yeah.
Wormhole wants to go first.
I think the first thing that we do need to change is the term interoperability. Like it took me 3 months to actually say it properly.
Did I slip a little?
No,
I slipped a little. I agree.
Interoperability.
Sorry.
Okay, but I think one of the things that we've started working on a lot is our Intents product. So we have this product called Wormhole Settlement. The way that Intents usually work is they're basically solvers that help you bridge, right? So you want to go from chain A to chain B. Instead of going from chain A to chain B directly, there's a solver that basically sends you funds, and then it's basically a seamless process because you get funds really easily. the thing that we noticed was solvers have to rebalance amongst different chains, and that was like a liquidity problem, and it was really capital intensive. So the way that wormhole settlement works is we basically enable solvers to just build on Solana, for instance, and then they just rebalance themselves on Solana. I think this is a design mechanism that a lot of the other interoperability protocols will take notice of. I think this is something that we can do on other blockchains as well. As XRPL evolves and they add more functionalities to smart contracts, it's definitely something to evaluate. But I think that type of intense mechanism is something that's interesting to us and something that we've been focusing on.
Yeah, and a lot of research on optimizing kind of the routing, solving routes as well. So yeah, if perhaps Interop or Flair, if you have anything to add.
I'm happy to add to that. My thesis on why we're doing data is that what we've actually built in crypto is extremely inefficient. Like TradFi is more efficient than DeFi in terms of capital usage. The reason we want to combine data with compute is to start trying to find ways to basically patch everything up and make it much more efficient by effectively having one hub of liquidity at Flare where you can effectively abstract away all the other chains. That's sort of our general thesis.
Yeah, so for XLR side, the Intense protocol would be live for XRPL and XRP sidechain as supported by Squid, one of our ecosystem projects. I think it was announced yesterday Coral V2 will be supporting that solution. So we have the same solver mechanism that enables liquidity to move between all the different chains that we support very seamlessly with sub 30 seconds type of settlement. On top of that, having the security of the actual finality that is secured by XLR's messaging. On top of that, I think there are other models that we are thinking today where we can extend the network further, where we can use certain type of light clients, whether ZK or different types of proof methods to actually extend the network in a much more scalable manner, because not every chain will require the full stack of 75 validators that XLR is providing today. And there will be certain trade-offs that the chain or application that's building around that would then make the conscious decision, right? So we're helping a lot of the developers kind of think through that model and kind of find the most optimal way to implement that using the XLR network.
Thanks. This is very, very educational. I want to just get a little bit of technical flavor into this conversation. So if we fast forward 5 years, how do you imagine users and institutions would interact with the multi-chain ecosystem? And will chains disappear into the background, or do you think will chain selection still matter?
That's an interesting one. I think the Interop space is really conflicted on this topic overall. I have my own I'll share my personal views on this topic. Java, have you seen one of those chocolate packs where they're like smaller bounties, there's like Snickers in there, there's Mars in there, but you have all the chocolates in one?
We're talking about kind of selection, diversification so again, yes.
You have one packet where you have all the chocolates, but you still, when you open the packet, you still know it's a Mars. You still know it's a Snickers. You still know it's a bounty, right? I think that's the way that will evolve, where interoperability solutions will get so good that you won't realize you're using a chain, but you will still know, because the protocol that you're using will be built on a chain and they will market themselves as a chain, right? From a user perspective, you may not know, but if you're in the trenches and you want to understand yield opportunities, you want to understand liquidity, you will still have to understand the different mechanisms of the different chains, right? So that's how I think about it. That's totally my personal opinion.
I totally agree. I think you do need to understand, but for adoption only, perhaps on a very high level, you understand what kind of flavor you want without understanding the deep technicality, so that every user can use it. Yeah, Flair.
I think the success of the internet shows that people don't want to know what server they're interacting with, and I think if we don't build a completely abstracted future, then I think we're going to really struggle to get mass adoption. So that's my take.
Agree, yes.
Yeah, I think I'll just end off with regards to this, because our interaction is not only on the DeFi crypto native side. We talk to a lot of the institutions. the idea here is that if you think of today, I think that the people that sit here in Singapore, potentially they know like Grab as an application, as a super app. In the US, like Uber, where you can do Uber Eats, you can do transport. You have multiple applications potentially sitting in different servers in different parts of the world. How can you make it seamlessly, right? Similarly for the internet in the very early days, or even the email protocol, right, where SMTP, so on and so forth. That seamless manner where Gmail can talk to Hotmail, I think that's something that we are kind of working towards, and I think different protocols have different ways of kind of expressing that. I think what XLR, the other teams here that's represented, we're working towards that future where users don't even know that they're working on different types of blockchains.
And they don't have to know in order to use it. Great, I think that's a wrap. And now this is the last session of the lunchtime, so we can now interact and interoperate, perhaps. It's a bad joke, but thank you very much. And please join me to thank all the panelists.
So that was the panel. I thought it was actually really great, and it's great to see Hugo talking about Fleur in such a confident way. It seems like we are in the right place at the right time. So guys, if you are new here, feel free to subscribe and also hit the like on the way out. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. Do have yourself an incredible day, and until next time, I'm out.
Mission Control, we have liftoff.